Hello everyone, it's June 20th, Thursday, in the year of 2024. In this talk, I would like to discuss all-cause mortality in 2024, whether or not it is attributable to the cerveza sickness. I am interested in all-cause mortality and all excess deaths now, in current time, not historically in 2021 or 2022 at the height of the cerveza sickness. Now, I am rewatching the excellent Dr. John Campbell that he has posted this here video 9 months ago, and I think I've seen it before, and I'm rewatching it again. And as well as discussing all-cause mortality, we are going to talk about reliability of data, specifically our world in data.org. I'm going to argue that their data is unreliable and the whole resource is unreliable. But this is as much news commentary as a question. If somebody wants to tell me that I'm wrong, please do so on, I guess, preferably via email, victor@piousbox.com, or on Twitter, or in any of the commentaries anywhere that I would be able to read it. There is a contact me form on my website, piousbox.com. Please use that, or comment below this video so that if I am wrong and you can tell me that I am making a mistake here, please tell me so. Now, I'm going to argue in this video that this video about excess deaths, as horrible as it seemed to me, I have to revise my attitude. I don't know what's happening with it. I cannot trust it. And I will also argue that the data provided by Our World in Data is dubious. Let's see what Dr. John Campbell is talking about here, and then I will comment on that.
Well, welcome to today's talk, Friday, the 8th of September. Now, we want to look at excess deaths today that are just carrying on in a group of countries where they are remaining high. But there's another group of countries where excess deaths are well below the average. What is going on here? Now, let's look at this graphic here to begin with. And this is not related to the excess deaths, of course. This is related to vaccination status. European countries beneath.
The inquiring reader can watch this 18-minute presentation by Dr. John Campbell in his own time. Now, I just want to focus on the subjects that I want to discuss in order to save everybody's time.
More than one factor, it's going to be multiple factors. But let's just remember those countries where the vaccination rates were higher or lower, because it seems a pity that countries that have spent a lot of money on vaccines aren't benefiting from lower rates of mortality overall. It just seems a real pity that the more sophisticated countries are having, the richer countries are having more excess mortality compared to the poorer European countries.
So he's saying, and I was terrified by this when I watched his video the first time, he is saying excess mortality continues in 2023, 2024, well beyond what is reasonable for this corona cerveza sickness. I'm going to argue that his data is shaky, so let's see.
Let me show you what I mean here. So that was the vaccination rates. Now, this is the United States. So we see that the excess deaths in the United States are currently running about the 8% mark. This is still high. And of course, this is at a time where we would expect it to be lower, because the more vulnerable people we would expect to have died already. Here we see the United Kingdom. And again, we do see that the excess deaths remain high in the United Kingdom, round about, this week's actually down to 4.5%, but this average here is looking at round about, this is from our World in Data, looking at round about the 10% mark for the excess deaths in the United Kingdom. This is Australia. Now, Australia, it's particularly high, I'm afraid.
All right. He is referring to this graph. Australia was the latest one. Australia is dipping below zero a couple times, but is remaining elevated. So the inquiring reader can watch the entire presentation in their own time. What I want to show is the following. Now, I was initially happy that our World in Data is providing us some information, but when I was looking at their data in more detail, I right away almost decided that I cannot trust their data. Now, let me see if I can quickly find it. What happened is, I'm gonna just close this duplicate. What happened is they were showing p-values, p-scores, instead of hard data. And a p-score is what? Deviation from p-value is the p-score, and it is the probability of obtaining test results at least as extreme as the result actually observed under the null hypothesis assumption. And our World in Data previously showed excess mortality as pretty much flat. And if you read into what the graph was, it wasn't excess mortality, it was a p-score of excess mortality. And so at that time I was like, hold on, I don't need to see how unlikely the current situation is. I want to see the current situation. Once again, I wasn't interested in observing how unlikely something is. I wanted to observe what it is, what is the excess mortality after the pandemic, because obviously that's a concern. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong in that p-score is relevant. I'm just not seeing how I would be interested in p-score when I'm interested in the data. And if you look, I just searched for excess mortality here, and if you look, what they give you is estimated deaths. I don't want estimates because it's a whole rabbit hole as to how do you estimate this. I want actual data, and when they say estimate, I actually have an example of terrible estimates from them. When they estimate, I'm just gonna assume it's a lie. I can't trust their estimates. I need hard data. And so for excess mortality, they give you an estimate which cannot be used by me. I cannot use estimates. Then it gives me, so this is interesting, excess mortality, deaths from all causes, but, well, it doesn't give me p-scores. It looks like it gives me actual counts. We will look at this later. In fact, it's this graph. Boop. It's this graph. Excess mortality percent. This is not a p-score. It's not a p-value. It's excess mortality percentage. And then it says estimated, and it's again, you see an estimate. I'm not interested in estimates. And then it's another estimate. So out of all the data that they present, the only one interesting, I'm going to close this window and go back to this one. This is the only interesting one. and it goes to April 28, 2024. And 9 months ago, Dr. John Campbell was talking about this data that was reported until April 30th, 2023. This will be important at the later on in this analysis, quick analysis. So let me go over another suspect details as to why I'm not sure if I can trust our world in data. When you go to their website, their homepage, the first thing you see is LGBT rights. We all know where that goes, right? Trans movement is the anti-humanity movement. So I wanted data, but I am given politics. And if you look at the one graph that I am interested in, related chart, the first one is, are children eligible? As if children want this thing. Let's be clear, children should not want this thing. It is worse than useless to children. Why am I being advertised this chart as the first chart that they want me to look at? So the website Our World in Data is more political than I would like it to be. And Dr. John Campbell talks about, well, maybe he later changed his background. It says, there is a picture of a sheep, and it says, the poster says, turn, look, and see, or something like that. So, in the manner of being a good engineer, I'm thinking, okay, all of this data should be free and available. So let's take a look at the data, and I couldn't find it. Dr. John Campbell goes off of this report from Our World in Data that I have shown as a little bit suspect until 2023. I see it 9 months ago. I see it today until 2024. Okay, let's look at the data. And here we go. This is the main part of the story. They say data source, human mortality database 2024. World mortality dataset 2024. Learn more about this data. Let's learn more about this data. Why does it say P-scores? I'm interested in the data. I'm not sure how P-scores are relevant here. Sources are human mortality database and world mortality dataset. That's all they say here. We will look at each one of these two datasets in a second. They say preparing data involves several steps. They say that they standardize country names. Okay, and then they say you can start clicking things. They don't say. I would not be looking to go any further into this here, how we process data. This is not a description of how they actually process the data, but let's just assume that they don't just start changing data. They take the data available and show it, more or less. I hope that's what's happening, right? Okay. Let's go to the first one, human mortality database. I'm gonna close this. Human, oh yeah, here is another, before we go looking at the data sets, I want to see how bad their estimates are of our world in data. Cumulative confirmed deaths per million people, which they display here twice. But anyways, look at this and at this. They say estimated cumulative excess deaths. You look at this graph, it looks terrible. Russia is dying. All right. I'm not gonna zoom in. I don't think I can zoom in effectively. So Russia is dying. Russia is, it seems that Russia is in the worst place. India is pretty bad, but the red line is the estimate. Confirmed deaths are the black line. The black line here is at 275,000, same as France, but the estimate for France is same as confirmed deaths, whereas for Russia it's 4 times larger. How come? And for United States, the estimate is the same as confirmed, more or less. United Kingdom, same as estimate is the same as confirmed. Why is the Russian one and India so much higher than confirmed? And it says here, for countries that have not reported mortality data, all-cause mortality data, an estimate is shown. Well, they have confirmed deaths. Do you see how this doesn't make any sense? They report the confirmed deaths, and then the estimate is just through the roof for some specific countries. You look at the table, again, estimate is not what I'm interested in. And here it says, in this graph, you look at this graph, you're like, oh yeah, well, Russians are losers in this sickness. But it shows the estimate, which, how did they get to this estimate? You can look at the data real quick, but again, we are not interested in here. Lithuania and Russia are the worst, but we are not interested in estimates. We are not interested in the lower bound because it's also an estimate. Upper bound is an estimate. Confirmed deaths is what I would be going off of, and the data is unavailable. So the estimate that came out of nowhere is available. Here is the map. Here, it shows you twice. It shows the map twice. Cumulative confirmed, cumulative number of confirmed deaths. It really does show it twice. And on the map it looks terrible. It looks terrible on the chart unless you read what the chart says. And then the line for Russia is the same as France, and this is per 100,000 people. This is not total, this is adjusted for population size. You cannot say that it's inaccurate because Russia is a much bigger country. This is per 100,000 people, not per country. So it's adjusted for population size. Russia reported numbers same as France, but our world in data does not consider that. They don't show it. So how can I trust our world in data if they do this? But anyways, let's keep going. My point, the next point I'm going to argue is that this data was pulled out of nowhere. This data does not exist. Dr. John Campbell is raising a concern, but I'm also raising a concern in that I cannot verify this data. Where did it come from? Somebody please tell me. I have an idea that I will show at the end, but as it stands, we are looking for human mortality database and world mortality dataset. Now, human mortality database goes to mortality.org. Let's go there. HMD. We will focus on United States. Available dates. There ain't no available data after 2021. Data stops at 2021 for United States. How did this come to be? From 21 onward. Mortality.org does not have this data. The world mortality data set is this one and this one. What is this one? What is this one? Okay, this one is a preprint for 2021. It's a preprint, so not peer reviewed, and it does not have data for 2022, 2023, 2024. It does not. Okay, well, let's go to Karlinski world mortality on GitHub over here. From 2017 onwards, yeah, we're focusing on United States. From 2017 onwards, they say it's this file over here. Now, I already looked at it, excess deaths associated with COVID-19, and I can show you how it looks like. Here it is. File, excess deaths associated with COVID-19, that's the file. Ends in 2023. So this file ends in September 2023, which is nice. For the purposes of Dr. John Campbell's video, but right now I'm looking at our world in data, and they're showing this much more data that is not in this data set. So where did and not in the other data set either. They're saying the data comes from human mortality database and world mortality data set. I'm looking at world mortality data set. It does not have this data is missing. They imagine what is predicted. Is predicted the same as imagined? They imagine data. Does extrapolation mean they imagine the data it says here excess mortality is forecasted. So you're gonna tell me that I have to, well, I cannot accept data that's imagined. So if they extrapolate forecasted data that is imaginary, I cannot go with that. And I think I also checked this file from who.int, and I have this file here, United States. For United States, the latest year available is 2021. So this resource here says WHO mortality database data ends in 2021. This document here, whatever, so we have looked at mortality.org. They don't have data for 2022 and onwards. These guys, World Mortality Dataset 2021. I'm not gonna load this file, but I did not see 2022, 2023, and these guys here, splitting all these files, splitting data into that many files, do not have data for 2022, 2023, 2024. These guys don't have it, but it's shown here, all this data. And so the only thing I can say is that over here they say that the data was imagined. And if that's the case, I cannot trust it. And I encourage Dr. John Campbell to not trust it either. So that's what I wanted to show. Again, someone please correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems that we don't have this data. A lot of countries stopped reporting in 2022 after all the hype was done. They just stopped reporting. But so anyway, so that's what I wanted to show. Hopefully this is useful to someone. And remember, stress is a health risk, so don't stress out too much. Magnesium supplements help against stress. But anyways, enjoy the rest of your week.